Hello, welcome back to everyone who's tuned into our channel, American Ultra Stock. Here we are today. I'm joined by Braden, Jeff. We'll be bringing to you guys, as you see in Braden's background, the Premier League table predictions. Really exciting video. I think it's the one topic that everyone looks forward to in the summer. We're going to do this backwards, so we'll save the best for last. I have from 20th to 15th, I have Luton Town, unfortunately, getting relegated in last place. I would love to see them actually put up a fight. I think they might actually do a little bit better than that, but I just don't see enough signings and experienced players, which is always welcome when you're trying to fight relegation. I think their core is way too young, the new signings. And yeah, it's still really inactive in the transfer market. And getting relegated, Wolverhampton as well. I think a shocking transfer window by them. I have them 19th. In 18th, I have West Ham. They just lost their best player, Declan Rice. I don't really rate their signings way too much, so I'll put him there. I think that David Moyes is a good coach. We'll probably give him a shouting chance, but I just don't see them being better than the clubs ahead of them. And in 17th, I could be easily wrong. I think this will be the battle that will go up until the last day. Again, Everton. I think maybe it's about their time, but I'll put them in 17th, just surviving. Above them, I have Sheffield. That I think maybe I put them too high here, but I actually like their signings. I think they should be all right. Had a good season last year. Obviously getting promoted. I'll put them there because I like them too. And Forest for 15th, I think it'll be a bit of a reality check for them. They had, again, really active in the market like always, but I don't think their team is too good, to be honest, relying on a bit of youth in the midfield. But good job on them for keeping their best players. I think that's a good thing. Braden, over to you. Who do you have getting relegated and fighting for survival?
All right, so bottom of the table, I'm going for Sheffield United. The last thing you want to do as a promoted team is sell your best player, and that's exactly what they did with Iliman Ndiaye going to Marseille. And I just don't really think they've replaced him well enough, honestly, so I'm going to have them in last. Maybe a bit of a shock there. 19th, I'm going to go for Luton. I don't think it's necessarily unrealistic to see them stay up, honestly. I mean, if Huddersfield could do it several years ago, I think Luton could too. But to me, their squad just looks like a very solid championship squad, and I think they're preparing for next season when they do inevitably get relegated to try and fight to go back up, which I honestly don't think is too bad of a strategy. 18th, I've got Wolves. Like you said, I mean, I think they've just lost a lot of quality, and I don't see where the goals are going to come from, especially losing Raul Jimenez, who was absolutely crucial to their early success when they were first promoted a couple years back. Just avoiding relegation in 17th, I've got Everton. It seems to be their spot. They always stay up on the final day, and I think they definitely could go down. But I like bringing in Danjuma. I think it's a good signing, and I think ultimately they just have a little bit more quality than three teams below them. And then 16th, I've gone for Nottingham Forest. I think losing Navas and Henan Lodi will be a pretty big deficit for their squad, but ultimately I do like some of their signings. I think Alanga could definitely revive his career there, and I think they should be okay. And then 15th, I've gone for Brentford. This might be a little bit low for them. I've seen a lot of people put them higher, but I think the loss of Ivan Toney for the start of the season is going to hit them really hard. I mean, he's made the main source of their goals, scoring them mainly, but also providing others, and I just don't see what they're going to do without him.
Over to you, Jeff. Who do you have battling for life in the Premier League?
In 20th, I have Luton Town. Fortunately, they after that, fairy tale story of them, getting promoted, to the championship, to the Prem. I have them finishing relegated because with the renovations that they just did to their stadium, breathtaking. The outside of the stadium is. Sharing the backyards of the fans. You just go through some random guy. It could be just having a barbecue, and just hearing the game while just trying to make food. That would be funny for the memes. And also Harry Kane taking the pen, hitting it through some guy's window. That would be definitely funny and memorable for highlights of the season. But yeah, with the renovations that they're doing to their stadium, they won't be left with any money for to make any new signings. So that's going to play a pivotal role for them in not surviving this season in the Prem. But yeah, I have them finishing 20th. I have Everton finishing 19th with no news about them making any more signings or any signings at all. And with how close they were to getting relegated and just staying at top. I don't think they're going to get lucky twice in a row, and especially with this season. So I've been finishing in 19th. And in 18th, I have Sheffield United. The same case as Luton Town. They got promoted and they're going to get relegated again. This isn't the same team from the 2020 season during lockdown, them finishing 8th. That was a memorable run. But unfortunately, they're not going to be able to stay alive in this season. And number 17th, I have Nottingham Forest. They made like you mentioned earlier, Braden, a decent signing of Anthony Alanga. Definitely will be key to helping them stay up in this season in the Prem. He'll definitely play a key role to their success of staying alive and not get relegated. Even with those 25 signings that they made last season, I don't think it's going to come into any use. As we saw last season, they didn't stay that high that I predicted. But anyways, I have number 16. I have Burnley. Even with Vincent Kompany having this team well organized and disciplined, it's going to take some getting used to adjust themselves in the Prem. Adjusting from a very new playing style that we saw with Sean Dyche just over 2 seasons ago, if I'm not mistaken. Though, they'll probably prove me wrong and maybe finish above mid-table, something like that. But they'll definitely be a team to watch out for this season. And at number 15th, I have Bournemouth finishing there. They haven't made any signings if I'm not mistaken, but they'll definitely just about stay above the relegation zone. And maybe they'll have some shocks here and there. Who knows? But those are my top 5 teams on the bottom.
And now moving on to the clubs that will be in the mid-table area of the Premier League. I'm not going to make a joke about that being Chelsea's place at the table, Jeff. Don't worry about it. In 14th, I have Burnley. I think they'll be fine. I really like Vincent Kompany's work there. I think he had good signings as well. Bayer, I think he's a good center back. It's always important to be solid at the back, and he plays out well there. I really like and I hope that Burnley finished this high. It's nice to see that the club actually changed the direction that they were going instead of being so pragmatic like they were under Dyche. In 13th place, I have Palace. I like Palace. They're kind of like Paraná, red, white, and blue, and they suck compared to their rivals, their city rivals. But I think that they'll be solid. The lack of transfer activity is a little bit concerning, but I think they have a really solid core. And all these rumors about Elise leaving, I don't think that will really happen. Palace are really good at holding on to their players, so I think they'll be fine. 13th for them. 12th, I go for Bournemouth because I really like Gurkis, Kluivert, and Favre. I think Favre is a really good player. I think that's a solid signing by them. And also, if you consider that out of the 11 wins that they got last season, the entire season, 7 came after the January transfer window, so they finished the season with a bit of form. So I think that will be carried on and prove that their signings in January actually made a difference. So I have them in 12th. And in 11th place, I have Brentford. I think that with the loss of Ivan Toney, unless they do something towards the end of the transfer window right now and sign someone for the upcoming season, they'll struggle a little bit. All right, and in 10th place, I have Fulham. I think it's unclear on whether Mitrovic is going to play for them again or not after getting offered that load of money from the Saudis. But I think they proved last season that they have a solid team. I don't think they lost any major players. The whole Palhinha situation is being carried on, but I trust them enough to finish in a mid-table spot. What about you, Braden?
All right, starting in 14th, I'm going to go for West Ham. I think it's just going to be another pretty underwhelming season in the Prem. They do obviously have a lot of quality in their team, but I think like last year, Europe's going to be the priority. Obviously, last year they won the Europa Conference League. I think they're going to try to make a real run at the Europa League this year, which means Premier League will be their second priority. And I think they could finish higher if they focused on it more, but I don't think they will. So 14th again. 13th, I went for Bournemouth. Like you said, a lot of their signings have been really good. A great window, especially for a traditionally smaller club. And I've seen a lot of people saying maybe second season syndrome could hit them, but I think it's going to be the opposite. I think they're going to push up the table and maybe solidify themselves as a mid-table team. In 12th, I went for Fulham. I think it'll be a slight drop-off from last year. I mean, they had a great first half of the season, but the second half was a little more shaky. And with the whole Mitrovic situation, I mean, it's still unclear whether he's going to go or not. He said he was never going to play for the club again, and then played in preseason for them a couple of days later. So I think he might just be trying to get a reaction out of them. But even if he does go, I think they're well suited. I like Carlos Vinicius. He's been pretty good for them. I think Marco Silva can get the best out of him and the whole squad. So I think that they'll be fine in 12th. In 11th, I'm going to go for Crystal Palace. They haven't had too much transfer activity, but Matheus França, the Flamengo wonder kid, I really like him. I think he's going to be a great addition for them. And yeah, I don't think they're going to sell Elise despite rumors of Chelsea wanting him. I mean, we saw how long they could hold on to Zaha, even though every single window there was links of him leaving for a bigger team. So I think the same will be for Elise. And with him as a França in the attack, I think it'll be a very exciting team. And yeah, 11th for me. In 10th, I went for Burnley. This might be a bit of a shock, a lot higher than some other people put them, but I don't think it's unrealistic, honestly. I mean, we saw Sheffield United come up and finish 9th. Leeds did the same thing. Fulham last year came up and finished 10th. I don't think it's unrealistic for Burnley to do the same thing. I mean, they outperformed all of those teams in the championship just based off the points they got. And they've had a great transfer window as well. Zeki Anduni, what a player. They've got some good center backs as well, which is always a concern for promoted teams, the defense. So yeah, I think they'll be just fine.
Nice. Over to you, Jeff. Any surprises in mid-table?
At number 14, I have Wolves. We saw that last year Wolves had an abysmal of a season. Really didn't live up to like how they were like a couple seasons ago. Them finishing in the Europa League position, they definitely fallen off. And with them losing Raul Jimenez to giving him to another fellow Premier League team in Fulham, that's sort of a stupid decision. And they've had an awful transfer window. They made no signings. They only got in Tom King as a free agent. Practically, who knows? He could be like your average worker at like a grocery store. Like no one knows who he is. He could be your average minimum wage worker at you're like your Dollar Tree, whatever they have in England. And at number 13th, I have Crystal Palace. Even though many will predict that they'll finish like maybe bottom of the Premier League, I have them somewhere like towards mid-table. And about Michael Olsey leaving to Chelsea, never say never. We can maybe steal him away from Palace, and that could really hurt them, losing a very quality player in him. And they haven't been that active in the transfer market. They did sign Jefferson Lerma, the Colombian from Bournemouth. Decent pickup, proven to be Premier League experienced player. Number 12, I have Aston Villa. Let's not kid ourselves when I say that they had a very decent transfer window. Making good signings, like Moussa Diaby from Bayer Leverkusen. That's a good pickup. And signing Yuri Tillemans on a free deal from Leicester. That's a really good pickup. He's proven to be Premier League experience as well. And then you have Pau Torres from Villarreal, a very quality Spanish defender from La Liga. And I feel like that Unai Emery is really making some very, very good decisions on the signing. But in my opinion, it will take them, some time to get adjusted to. Well, maybe not Yuri Tillemans, but for me, Pau Torres and Diaby to, get used to the Premier League. So that's why I have them in number 12. And at number 11th, I have Spurs. With the news of Kane at the brink of finally being freed from the shackles of Tottenham, and finally maybe going on to win trophies at Bayern, that can be, very pivotal to hurting Spurs, as he's a long-serving, I guess you could say, club legend. It wouldn't be too serious, of a joke. But yeah, you got to give the man respect. He's had his service. He did his fair share with the club. The closest he's gotten to win a trophy twice, and of course Tottenham bottled it. He deserves to leave, in my opinion. But with Kane leaving and James Maddison coming in, that's not that bad of a loss, because we've seen that James Maddison is a very quality player, another proven Premier League player. He'll be key for Spurs. And getting Dejan Kulusevski on a permanent deal, that's a good pickup as well, but not really too active in the market for Spurs. But I wouldn't be too harsh to say that they'll finish mid-table. That's around the same area that we finished last season. But yeah, and in number 10th, I have West Ham. West Ham, it's going to be difficult for them, to focus on where they want to really have their main, priorities at. Trying to do run deep in the Europa League, or trying to focus on maybe finishing top six again in the league. That's going to be hard for them to utilize. But the way I see it, like Braden mentioned earlier, they might focus on, going deep into the Europa League and win a back-to-back European trophy like they did with the Conference League. So I'm gonna have them in 10th, and I say that's more realistic after losing Declan Rice. That's a very big loss, and not signing any player to replace him. That's sort of stupid in my opinion, because how are they gonna line up without having their backbone CDM at the heart of the midfield? That's gonna be really pivotal, and that's gonna hurt them really badly. So that's why I have them in 10th. As long as they can make a signing before deadline day, then they'll be fine.
Talking about the clubs that would be challenging for Europe, perhaps, I have in ninth place Brighton. I think it's going to be a drop-off from last season. I don't think that European football is going to do them many favors, to be honest, but I think they should be fine. At the time of this recording, they are approaching, apparently closing in on the Kudus signing. I think he's a great player. Brighton is one of the most likable clubs in the league because of their project and the way they develop players. I hope they do well, but I have them in ninth. I think it's going to be a bit of a drop-off. Just ahead of them, Aston Villa, like Jeff said, I really rate their signings. Paul Torres, Diaby, and Yuri is on a free. I mean, that's a steal, and I really like Emery. I think he's a great coach, but again, European football is probably going to distract him a little bit. They're going to try to have a deep run. He enjoys that competition, and I think they'll be fine in eighth, and that will be acceptable by their fans. I think they'll have a good season. Just ahead of them, I have Spurs. Maybe it's a bit high for them, but I trust Spurs to have enough quality in them. They have a new project, a new manager, and they always somehow don't embarrass themselves. They always have in themselves the ability of getting close to a good result, but not quite achieving it. And I think that would be their goal this season for Champions League, European football, but they'll almost get there. Classic Tottenham. I have them in 7th. Now in 6th place, Newcastle. I really like Newcastle. Really rate Tonali. Sandro Tonali is a great midfielder. It's not because I'm part Italian. I think he's amazing. But I don't think they'll have more quality than the clubs ahead of them. And again, they're playing in Champions League, and that's probably going to divert their attention a little bit more than they wanted. And for 5th place, just missing out on top 4, I have Chelsea. I really rate their signings. Great firepower, but that midfield really scares me. It would scare me if I was a Chelsea fan. A lack of signings there. Really unclear on the Caicedo whole transfer saga. They've been going for him the entire summer, but looks like it won't really happen. And I don't think they're better than any of the top 4 teams by quite a margin. It's also a budget for Pochettino. They say Poch, but it's Pochettino in Italian. Anyways, it's his first year there, and I think that it won't be as easy as some Chelsea fans think. Over to you, Braden. Who do you have just missing out on top 4?
All right, so in 9th, I'm going to go for Tottenham. I think the potential loss of Harry Kane is going to be a really huge blow to their team. I mean, the second all-time leading scorer in Premier League history. I mean, you can't really get better without a player like that. The rest of their squad, it's pretty mid-table, to be honest, if you take out Kane. Youngman's Son has been amazing in the past, but last season he fell off a lot. Just not a great season for him. And yeah, I do think that they have a pretty good project with Ange Postecoglou coming in, but he's not experienced in the Premier League at all, only in Scotland, and I don't think it'll be too good of a first season for them. So yeah, I've got them in 9th. In 8th, I'm going to go for Brighton. I really like the signings they've made. Like you mentioned, Kudus is a really good signing, a statement. João Pedro coming in from Watford as well, bolstering the attack. I mean, for the past couple of years, they've been the XG club. I mean, always creating chances, but then not putting them away. So I think those two will help them score some more goals. But with the added pressure of Europa League, which obviously they're not used to, I think it's their first time in Europe as a club ever, or at least in a very long time. I think that's going to take their focus away a little bit and kind of overwhelm them just a bit. So a little bit lower than last season, but still a pretty good finish in 8th. In 7th, I'm going to go for Aston Villa. I think on paper with the transfers that they made, I mean, Diaby, Pau Torres, Tielemans, I think they probably won the transfer window, but with Unai Emery being their coach and being a European specialist, I think they're really going to emphasize the Conference League, go for it, and I think they will win it. But with that, it takes away a little bit from their Premier League performances, and I do think they'll miss out on the top 6 in 7th. I mean, if they weren't playing Europe, I think they'd be a lot higher. But with that pressure, the added games, I think they'll drop off just a little bit. In six, I'm going with Chelsea. I love the project. I like how they're signing a bunch of young players. They're definitely going to be a great team in the future, like they used to be. But I mean, I just don't like the midfield. They have no experience there besides Enzo Fernandez and Conor Gallagher, who Chelsea fans seem to hate quite a bit. And yeah, I mean, Caicedo, I mean, they've been trying to sign him for the entire summer. I don't think it's going to happen. If it was going to happen, he'd already be there. Tyler Adams, he's a pretty good signing, but I think he's a mid-table player, which kind of suits Chelsea considering last season. But I don't think he's exactly a Champions League player, as sad as that is to say, as an American. But yeah, I think sixth place, a massive improvement on last season, and they'll just keep pushing up the table in years to come. And then for the final spot, missing out on top four, missing out on Champions League, I'm going to go for Liverpool again. I know this is supposed to be their bounce back year. Obviously, they finished fifth last season, but I don't think they have it in them. I mean, they sold almost their entire midfield. They were supposed to have a giant squad overhaul, but only ended up buying 2 players. So, I mean, I like Szoboszlai and I like McAllister, but they have a gaping hole at the 6th position, which Fabinho used to play so well back a couple years ago, but I don't know who's going to fill in there. They've lost experience, valuable experience in Henderson, their captain, and James Milner as well. So I just think they're going to be a little bit lost and miss out on top 4.
All right, that's fair. Over to you, Jeff. Who do you have?
Okay, so in number 9th, I have Fulham finishing there after a massive improvement from the season before. That the way that they played last season, got to give it up to them. They played really well, especially with that back line. Obviously with Tim Ream and Jedi Robertson, with the national team chemistry and the club chemistry that really came into fruition, and with the style of play that Marco Silva has been playing, it really suits them. But with them getting the accomplishment of European football, that's going to be a bit of a distraction for them, maybe a liability. Like I said with Villa, this might come to be a liability of which competition they're going to be more focused on, the league or the Conference League. For Fulham, it's going to be a bit difficult, but it'll take some getting used to when you reach like the top 6 teams, like trying to focus on what they want to focus on, what take advantage of, which one is pivotal. That's really going to happen with Fulham. And the signing of Raul Jimenez, it's a decent signing in my opinion, even though he's not the player that he once was with the Wolves. But still a quality signing, pick up Premier League experience. He'll definitely be key for Fulham in this season, and that's why I got them finishing at 9th. And number 8th, I have Brighton. Let's not kid ourselves when I say that they were a fan favorite club from last season. The style of play, them giving the young players a chance, signing the young players, having an eye for talent. That's really something that I respect deeply about Brighton. But I have been finishing 8th after the tremendous season they had the past year. It's the same case with Fulham and Aston Villa, driving their focus on which competition they want to play. I'm not going to go into detail about it because I already said about the past 2 teams. But let's talk about their signings. Joao Pedro, a very decent pickup from Watford, a young player. He'll definitely fit in with Brighton's criteria. James Milner, a proven Premier League player, obviously with Manchester City and Liverpool. He might not be too much of a influence in too much of a big game change player, but he'll definitely be a role model for the young players there. He'll definitely be a leader as well in the locker room. Mamadou Dahoud from Borussia Dortmund, a very decent signing as well, quality midfielder, and with them maybe losing Caicedo, going to us, it could happen. It maybe will happen, right? But it'll definitely be something that will damage Brighton if it does happen. But anyways, at number 7th, I have Brentford. With how well they did last season, I feel like they can make a push to the top 7. They're a quality team. I like how they have their team lined up. Definitely a team to look out for in this upcoming season. Number 6, I have Newcastle, and boy, let me tell you about the signings of Sandro Tonali and Harvey Barnes. Harvey Barnes, not the player that Sandro Tonali is, but a very proven Premier League player. Did well at Leicester, and finally he escaped Leicester. And having Sandro Tonali partner with Bruno Guimaraes, that would definitely be good for Newcastle. You know, you have two quality midfielders, and especially Tonali proven to be a very world class player. And with Newcastle getting Champions League last season, I feel like they might drop off. Something tells me they might drop off into six, but who knows? It's up in the air. They'll definitely finish in the top six this season. Do I go to number five? Right, number five, and that's it. All right. And in fifth place, I have Arsenal. Maybe I'm being biased as a Chelsea fan. I have Arsenal in fifth. Their last season was a fluke. You know, them challenging for the title, and then making up the excuse saying top four was always the goal. That's a bunch of BS in my opinion. And with Arsenal finishing second last season, they'll get too ahead of themselves, thinking that, oh, we're back. You know, the glory days are back. You know, the invincible season, we're going to recreate that easily. I said they're going to finish outside the top five, top four. They'll get Europa League, and they'll be brought back into reality. Because let me tell you, when you sign a player that obviously isn't suited for the Premier League, that today was played as a striker and missed two big open chances for 60 mil, you just know you're gonna get a load of shite, as English fans like to say. And Kai Havertz, he's definitely gonna be a big liability if he's gonna be playing at the striker position. That would definitely hurt Arsenal. But respect to them for signing Declan Rice and Jurgen Timber, a quality center back from Ajax, and Declan Rice, a proven Premier League midfielder. But something tells me Havertz is just going to recreate his form like he did with Chelsea and just miss big opportunities, just prove that he's a big load of waste of money, especially. And yeah, you're just going to get the German James Charles instead. You know, just showing that he's no use for the Premier League, and especially for Arsenal. And yeah, those are my top five.
All right, I don't quite get the James Charles reference, but I'm actually glad I don't get it. Starting my top four, the clubs that will make Champions League football, I have Man United. I really like what Ten Hag's doing there. I think United is a huge club. Obviously, someday they'll get back to their greatness, but I don't think it would be this season. I think Mount's a good signing. There's a player in there, and Ten Hag can probably revive his career. But ultimately, I don't think that they will fare too well and don't have any quality to challenge for the title. I think that's a long shot right now. And Ten Hag has really high standards for his club. He has called out on a few players in preseason, so obviously there's improvement there to be done, and the clubs ahead of them, one of them being Liverpool, the third place, are better than them. I think that Liverpool, they definitely got rid of the entire midfield. Fabinho, Keita, who never really worked out, and Henderson, who's a huge influence in that dressing room. But I really like the signings for Bozala and McAllister. I think there are 3 players short, to be honest, to even challenge for a title. I think this is a quite high place for them in my table, but I trust Klopp to figure something out. They've been flirting with putting Trent in the midfield. Maybe he's going to be the new 6. I don't know, but I think that Klopp has now a new crop of players that, not necessarily new, but even Luis Diaz, players that haven't really done much. I think Darwin Núñez is going to have a good season, and I think they'll have a point to prove. I have him in third. Second place, I have the team that I'll be rooting for, Arsenal, but I don't think they'll be able to beat City. I really love the project. I think Arteta is one of the best managers in the league. I really like the way that they play. I think Champions League might hurt them a little bit, but they made solid signings, even though I don't think they raised the quality too much, apart from Rice, who I think is the only player that slots in the starting lineup. The fact that they kept Partey, who I thought was going to leave the entire summer, shows it's a good sign. The Community Shield was just played today, and they show that they're not too far behind, at least right now, even though we know it's not. It's more of a glorified preseason game. But good job to them, but they will fall short because City, my champions first place, are way too good to be behind anyone. I think they dominate this league. I think that losing Gundogan, Mahrez is obviously a sign that maybe it will be a change of guard, but Guardiola is a great signing. I think their back is so solid, and they have too much quality going forward too. I think Erling Haaland, obviously, it's a player that makes or breaks in terms of titles. So I have them winning. What about you, Braden? Who's your top 4?
Okay, so starting out in 4th place, the first Champions League spot, I'm going to go for Newcastle. Now, I think a lot of people are saying that maybe being in the Champions League this season, obviously they're not used to it, could be a detriment on their Premier League success, but I don't think so, honestly. I mean, the signing of Sandro Tonali is a huge statement. I mean, he's one of the best players in the world. So him going to a club like that is definitely signs that they're not playing around. Harvey Barnes as well. They replaced St. Maximin with him, and I don't think he's as technically good as St. Maximin. I mean, ASM, we see how good he is with his tricks and skills, but in terms of the project and the team, the style, I think he's a perfect fit. I think Eddie Howe's going to utilize him very well. And yeah, I just think they're going to be better than last year with the slight drop off from Champions League, but I think it'll all balance out for them to still finish top 4. In third, I went for Man United. I think, contrary to some other people's beliefs, Mason Mount is not completely useless, and
He is.
I think he'll be an all right signing. Honestly, I think he gets too much hate, especially from Chelsea fans. I mean, he won Player of the Season for them twice. In goal, Onana is a big up. In goal, Onana is a big upgrade on De Gea. I mean, De Gea did keep the most clean sheets, but he had a lot of mistakes last season. And yeah, I think Onana will be better. And bringing in Højlund, who I don't think is Prem ready just yet, but I mean, we know he's a massive talent. So I think maybe mid-season he'll start to find his feet and be a really good striker upgrade for them. So yeah, I think they'll finish third. In second, this one's going to be a bit of a shocker, but I'm actually going to go for Manchester City. I think the fact that they have won everything, I mean, they've won 4 out of the last 5 Premier Leagues. They won the treble last year. It just feels like their project is done. And yeah, I mean, they've had players leaving the club because, I mean, there's nothing left to accomplish there. Mahrez is gone. Gundogan's gone. Bernardo and Cancelo still could leave the club. Kyle Walker as well. And yeah, I mean, I like Vardiol coming in. He's a great center back now and for the future. But I think their squad has gotten worse. I think the team that I'm going to put ahead of them has gotten a lot better. And yeah, I just don't think there will be as much motivation to win as there has been in the past couple of years. So that's why I'm going with Arsenal to win the Premier League this season, which is a huge shock, and I completely understand if I get hate for this in the comments, but I really like their signings. I think Kai Havertz, if he's played in the right position, which is not striker, but I mean, he's been playing there because Jesus is injured, but once he's back, he'll be playing in the midfield where he shines the most. Declan Rice is a huge signing, one of the best 6s in the world. And yeah, I just think they've made the necessary additions to their squad depth for Champions League to adapt to that. And I think they've gotten better. Man City's gotten worse. They're going to be hungry after having a very disappointing end of the season after leading the Prem for the majority of it. And they have a very young squad as well that's only going to keep getting better. Saka, Martinelli, a bunch of players. So yeah, I think they're going to win the Prem.
It would also be really nice to see a change for once. So it's a good take. I'm pretty sure there'll be comments about it, but I'm curious to see Jeff's top 4 now.
Mount and Havertz are awful. Just saying that. They're god awful. They're like Dumb and Dumber. Dumb and Dumber. Definitely. But anyways, so top 4, I have Manchester United finishing 4th. I agree with Yuri, but Mount, he'll just be a big liability. He'll be the Alvaro Morata of Manchester United. He'll be the Fernando Torres of Chelsea. Right? It's that simple. He's not going to do anything. United fans were saying today that he was bang up average. Why did he sign for United? Why is he wearing the number 7? He's tarnishing it. He's awful. All right. He's literally just a workhorse. He's England's golden boy that will always be forgiven, no matter the circumstances. All right. Literally, and those 2 Player of the Years that he's won for us, the first one was deserving. The second one, it wasn't. If anything, it should have went to Kovacic. Very deserving. But the transfer market that Manchester United had, besides Mount, was pretty decent in my opinion. They made a very decent signing with I'm gonna butcher his name, but Højlund. He was a good signing. But for 70 million though, it feels like they're going all in. They just want to challenge for top 2, but with signing a player for 70 million like him, that's not even proven yet. That's a bit stupid in my opinion. But picking up Andre Onana for De Gea, that's a smart signing. But even though he's had a iffy, preseason, especially against I think it was Madrid, that he didn't play too well in, but that's nothing too much of a panic when you have Mason Mount wearing the number 7 and playing. But anyways, at number 3, I have Liverpool as well, finishing third. Braden was a bit, bit skeptical with what he said about them finishing outside the top 4, but I feel like that they're gonna pick themselves up where they were, seasons before that. Picking up a quality player in McAllister, who is a very, very underrated player in my opinion. Key for Brighton last season, and had a spectacular World Cup in my opinion, and a proven Premier League player as well, which is important. You need experience to play in the Prem, which he can offer. And signing Szoboszlai, triggering his release clause, that's a decent pickup as well. We saw what he did at Salzburg, very quality player. At Leipzig, he was fortunate to not be able to show his talent that he did in the Austrian Bundesliga, but I feel like that he'll be key for Liverpool this season. And for top 2, I have Chelsea, my blue London club, Chelsea, finishing second. We're gonna pick it up. We're gonna show that we can bounce back. That's what we do best. And signing players like, Nicholas Jackson. Finally seeing that Murdoch is showing what he did in the Ukrainian league. Yeah, picking up Nkunku, picking up Diassi from Monaco, which is a good signing. Picking up the Ecuadorian talent, Kendry Paez, Yuri's favorite player from the U20 World Cup. And just signing all these young players for the future. It just shows that we have a lot of faith in these players and that they're going to be key. Nicholas Jackson is already having a fantastic preseason. And Nkunku, fortunate enough to pick up that injury against Dortmund in Chicago, is bad. But, with these players that we have, I feel like we can bounce back and push for top 4, or maybe even challenge for the title. We're going to show that the glory days are coming back that we did 2 years ago in 2021. And for number 1, I have Manchester City. They've turned this league into a farmers league. Even though they won everything, I feel like they're just going to have the ambition to win even more. Fortunate to lose, Ilkay Gundogan to Barcelona, which is, will definitely be a big loss for them. But picking up a quality player that I'm upset to see go, Mateo Kovacic, a proven Premier League player, a very underrated player as well. I feel like he offers a bit more than Gundogan. He offers more technical ability. He offers more energy, more speed. He'll definitely be key for Manchester City. Even though he's 29 years old, I feel like he's one of those players that has 3 lungs, just like Luka Modric and N'Golo Kante. He just doesn't get tired. He just has the technical ability. He has the quality. He has the ambition. He's motivated. He's a leader in the locker room as well. And Maestro in the midfield, he'll be key for City. And Josko Gvardiol coming over from RB Leipzig, a quality young defender, one that they'll definitely use for the future. And even though Manchester City, they probably won't try as much as they did the past seasons, they'll just resort to dominance that they do best. Pep Guardiola, he'll definitely, have these players into shape in like 2 months or so if things go wrong. But yeah, these are my top 4 teams to wrap up in the 2023-2024 Premier League season.
All right, thank you very much, Braden. Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate this video. I think it was really nice. Let us know in the comments if you guys liked it. I really enjoyed making it. It was a fun video. We have more top 5 leagues predictions coming out. We had a Ligue 1 coming out as well. We had a Ligue 1 video as well in the past, so please make sure to check that out if you'd like. And leave down below your takes on our takes. If you thought they were good predictions or not. We accept any criticism, any hate. We'll be ready for it. Thank you so much. Leave a like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.